Welcome to this segment of Beer to Whiskey. I'm your host, Russ Heaps, and today we're coming to you, as always, live from the Beer to Whiskey studios, high atop Barley's Tap Room in downtown Greenville, South Carolina. This is one of our Big Jon and 5 segments where I get my good buddy, Big Jon Richards, here to pick a beer, and we sort of just chat about it and drink a bunch of it. But before we get down into the meat of this thing, a little self-promotion. John, what do we want these folks to do?
We want them to like us, Russ. We want them to like us and subscribe.
Both of those things. You've only got 2 things to do. That's it. Like and subscribe. Blue thumb down there, you see it? Click on that to like. And at the end of the video, if you don't do it beforehand, you've got a page where you can watch some other videos, but there's also a round Beer to Whiskey icon. You can click on that. You'll be all signed up, nothing else to do. And a new video comes out every Thursday at noon East Coast time. And with that out of the way, John, what do we have here?
We have Lagunitas fresh hopped beer called Born Yesterday. It's a fresh hop or wet hop version of their new Dogtown Pale Ale. And I think we did one of these fresh hop beers at least once before, but
yes, we
for those of you who may be watching for the first time,
subscribe if you are. Subscribe.
We've got a beer with a bunch of hops in it that were just picked like typically the day before they got stuck in the beer. So most times you got to dry the hops or process them and pelletize them and turn them into something that'll be a little shelf stable because they're a flour. They just don't last. But if you pick them and stick them right into a beer, you get these wonderful, expressive, fresh, green flavors that go on that manifest without a lot of bitterness because they're just too delicate to stick in there and boil away. So you have to stick them at the very end or ferment with them in there, and then you get these usually very subtle but persistent flavors,
relentless.
kind of like relentless maybe is a word. It's not a typically very aggressive beer, but it's super flavorful. Usually real fresh and green and viney and funky and earthy and floral like a tea.
Are those good things in your beer? Are those good things to have in your beer?
Oh yeah. Well, especially if you are a hoppy beer drinker.
Okay.
And in most of these hoppy beers, our whole culture is going away from bitterness and toward flavor, as evidenced by the New England IPAs and all the hazy IPAs that are coming out. So when we get there with wet hops, we're just doing it with a little fresher, greener, more floral thing than we do with the citrus side.
If they're wet, doesn't that mean we're lazy? Shouldn't we be doing something to those hops?
No. I mean, no. It's like if you were trying to brew tea with fresh flowers, it would be a whole different beverage than if you were doing it with dried tea leaves. And I don't know whether that's good or not.
And that would be a good thing. No, you don't know.
I don't know. But in beer, I do. It's really good.
We're about to
experiment with this one. Now, I've had this one before, so I know what's coming. See, that makes my eyes roll back in my head.
It does me too, but for probably very different reasons. It's like licking the bottom of a bird cage to me.
It's well, that may be taking a little too fine a point on it.
Well,
I did say it was going to be dirty, though.
It is, and you said it was going to be funky, which it is.
And it's really green, and it's just
really green.
Yep.
And it tastes.
And it's mouth coating.
It tastes like you're chewing like tree moss or something. Is what it tastes like.
And
I mean that in the best.
Right.
Positive sort of
Gin
way.
gets a bad rap for that too. It's not necessarily a bad thing. We as humans are, I think, the only species in the animal kingdom that's not automatically averse to bitter flavors. Most other animals treat bitter as akin to poison, so they won't eat it.
And I think that's a good thing.
Juniper berries, for instance, never get eaten by anybody because they're bitter.
But I think that's a good rule of thumb from my perspective. But continue.
But there are ways like. Everybody knows espresso is bitter, but everybody likes their espresso. So bitter is clearly not just a bad thing. But Russ is a trooper for experimenting with some of these beers because this is far outside of Russ's wheelhouse.
It's way out. And the thing about this is, and I'll tell you a little secret, it's a peek behind the curtains, is that we shoot about 5 or 6 of these episodes at a time. And
Tell them our secrets, Russ.
I know, but we do. And it's like The Price is Right. You know, they just don't shoot 1.5 hour show and go home. They shoot a week's worth. So that's kind of what we're doing here. But one of the nice things is we'll have a few sips of beer and we'll set them off the side and bring out another one. And then when we're all done, we stand around here for another hour and finish off the beers that we didn't. You're going to get mine.
Hour?
You're going to get, yeah, maybe. But you're going to get my...
Yeah, see, that's the magic. And then he gets my, Russian Imperial Stout or something.
Yeah, it works out in the end.
Yeah.
It works out. It's a very symbiotic
right.
sort of relationship. So where is Lagunitas?
Lagunitas. And that's a fun day. And everyone who doesn't...
That's why I've got
It's the most unpronounceable word in the beer business, I think.
That's
and
why
they put it right on the label, but it's, yeah.
If it was here in front of me, I had to keep notes, and
right?
I would have remembered that. But Lagunitas.
Lagunitas is in Petaluma, California.
Okay.
And Petaluma is Petaluma. A little small town in wine country up there, actually, but with a couple of good breweries in it. And Lagunitas has been doing some really wonderful stuff for a long time. They're another one of these breweries that merged with a larger company, so they're actually partially half-owned. They may be all the way owned now by Heineken.
Okay.
And so Heineken's still a family-owned brewery, but it's like the 4th largest brewery in the world. So still kind of one of the big guys, but that's one of the reasons Lagunitas jumped in with them. And one of their stated reasons was that it was still
they could do what they wanted
technically
to
a
do.
small company, and they were allowed to kind of continue doing their thing.
If I were Heineken, I would have stepped in on this one, though, I gotta tell you. This one wouldn't hit the shelves.
Fortunately, Heineken did not step in, because that would have made me sad.
Well,
I'm here. Smell it.
Then I'm here for you. I got your 6, John. I'm happy they're making this.
Right. He's lying.
Anything else we should know?
I mean, we did a bunch of it. It's fun talking about wet hop beers for me.
Well, it's in the whole thing for me is the sooner this episode's over, the sooner I can move on to something I actually want to drink.
We didn't talk about Catawampas hops.
Oh man, you mentioned that. Catawampas.
I don't think it's an actual hop.
Yeah, I'm not.
I went and tried to look it up. They said Simcoe, Citra, Mosaic, and Catawampas. Which Catawampas is something different.
I think it rhymes with cat poop.
It's called getting sideways, Russ.
Okay. Yeah, I think Catawampas rhymes with cat poop.
Russ is not from around here.
I'm not from around these parts.
Anyway,
with that,
I think it's delicious, and I'm proud of our new Beer to Whiskey shirts.
Our team shirts.
We have team shirts.
It's very exciting. In another episode, we'll show you the back.
Right.
Texas Early. See you next time.